I'm מאיה Playtech. I'm a senior at Columbia University, where I am the student body president of my undergraduate college. I am Israeli, and I've been doing my part in advocating for Israelis and Jewish students on campus.
מאיה, זה כבוד גדול לדבר איתך ולארח אותך כאן.
נציין שאת יושבת ראש איגוד הסטודנטים באוניברסיטת קולומביה לתואר ראשון. כמו שכולנו יודעים, זה זמנים מאוד מתוחים. כשבתוך הזמן הזה נבחרת לנשיאות, שזה משהו מאוד משמעותי, ואני אישית מאוד מתרגשת לפגוש אותך.
השיחה שלנו היא קצת אחרת, והיא יותר צוללת לעומק של מה עומד מאחורי הבחירות שלך, הדילמות, הערכים שלך שמנהלים אותך ומובילים אותך, ואותם אנחנו ננסה למצוא. אנחנו נתחיל בערך הראשון שאת בוחרת להציג לנו.
בחרת צדק.
וזה לא היה קל לבחור צדק. התלבטת.
I think actually justice is quite an Israeli characteristic in the sense that I think everybody is always advocating for what's right, and that that's a driving value. And actually I think the army is what kind of pushed me to learn about this, and I actually even think my experience in the last year and a half has been what's pushed me to further emphasize this. And my initial personal reaction on October 7th was quite literally the Israeli reaction. I was in shock for the first few hours. I was so sad. I was following the news and I wanted to jump into action immediately. I wanted to do whatever I can to support Israel, and I was trying to find ways that I could help.
I am proud to be Israeli. I am proud to be from the only democracy in the Middle East. I am proud to be from a country that champions equal rights. I am proud to be from a country made up of people committed to doing better.
I felt that I've had a responsibility to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult to. I started a petition regarding a professor where he called October 7th awesome and incredible, something worthy of jubilation and awe. And he was one of the main professors in the Middle East department. He was the only professor teaching the Israeli-Palestinian conflict at Columbia, and it got 80,000 signatures. Even though he's still teaching, he's actually teaching a course on Zionism next semester. It taught me the responsibility of also standing up for what's right, even when people don't necessarily want you to. And then going forward, I think when I decided to run for election there, it was coming out of responsibility of also standing up for what's right, feeling responsible enough to represent myself, even when people don't necessarily support me and support my nationality and where I come from.
ומה הייתה התחושה שהתחילה כל ההתנגדות המאוד גדולה באוניברסיטה בקולומביה?
You saw anti-Semitism become more and more normalized on campus over the few months. I actually even remember, I think in the first effort to bring the Jewish and Israeli community together after October 7th, where they had a memorial for those that had lost their lives on October 7th, they were laughing at us on social media while they were screaming on the other side. It's not the fact that they're protesting a war. They're protesting our existence. They're protesting anything Israeli. They don't want us on their campuses. But at the same time, you see at Columbia, people have been standing up for what's right. People refuse to go. People are speaking up about what's going on. I refuse to be bullied off of campus over my nationality.
איך את מתמודדת מול אנשים שאת יודעת בוודאות שהם לא צודקים, אבל הם חושבים שהם צודקים?
I think ultimately whenever I've been able to have conversations with people, and you can't really do it in huge groups of people, you have to do it as one-on-one, it's much easier to dispel some of the misinformation that they have. They're much more willing to listen to you. They're much more open-minded, especially if they don't necessarily have a strong background in that material. They've just heard what they've heard. Even if they don't fully agree with me, they understand where I'm coming from, and it sometimes changes how they speak on the issue. I've seen how people that were maybe much more vocal about a situation have decided to stop talking about the situation because they realize they don't know all the information and it's better for them not to say anything.
האם את מרגישה שבגלל שאת לוחמת צדק, את מפסידה גם חברים?
It became much more difficult to divide your nationality or separate your nationality or background from who you are as a person. So I unfortunately lost some of my good friends who decided to stop speaking to me. Never ever even like tried to hear me out or hear from my perspective. And these were good friends of mine who, you know, I would have expected to have like at least like listened. It's so sad that that's the situation, but I think you see it all over the US, you see it all over the world now. That people just don't want to be associated with Israelis because they think it'll hurt them. There's still a long way to go. It's not perfect. You still see a lot of the issues on campus, but I think that a lot of what I've always operated under has been like to try to increase the justice for all students and try to increase the rights for all students. So I chose this word, that means responsibility. I grew up in Japan and I feel like it's one of the main values in Japan that they teach you from when you're already like 3 years old.
תספרי לנו מה זה אומר, תני לי דוגמה.
Actually, in Japan, you clean the school as children. That's the responsibility.
אולי כדאי לאמץ את זה פה.
You also have like the responsibility of like cooking one of the meals in the kitchens. Like even when you're like 6 or 7 years old, like every week you have to go once. And it's part of like the ingrained culture of like education where they teach you responsibility in that sense. So I think you're playing an older person than you would typically seem to be.
וואו.
אז זה לא רק אחריות, זה גם עצמאות.
Yeah. I think in that way I was taught to be more responsible for my own life already at a young age. When I was 18, I came back here to do my service in Dovell. So I learned the responsibility of not just serving my country and doing whatever I can, even though I wasn't necessarily like protecting my country, but having the responsibility to share Israel's truth, the army's truth, and this is part of the culture of the country. As a result, I think I built that into like my definition for responsibility. And I think that that's actually something very special to Israel. Like I've always felt very safe with other Israelis, and I think it's because we're all kind of responsible for one another. I know that they always have my back, they'll always support me, and if there's something wrong, they will come. And I don't know if I would have that trust with a lot of other people, and I think it's partially because of the lessons that you learn at 18.
אני חשבתי שתבחרי את הערך הזה ראשון, אומץ. את אישה מאוד אמיצה. יש לך הרבה אומץ לעמוד מול דעות אחרות, להתעקש עליהן, להילחם, לשלם מחירים. אבל מעניין אותי מה אומר אומץ בשבילך.
Even moving to Israel when I was 18, I think that it took courage in me to decide that I was ready then to do my service. I had to push myself in a situation that I wasn't necessarily like fully comfortable in. I don't think anybody's comfortable in like during Tirunut, but in the sense of like being pushed to live in a country where it wasn't my first language. I kind of like pushed myself to be able to be a part of this community, and I'm really happy that I did that, but it took courage for me to make that decision. It took courage for me to like not necessarily go in the exact path that I think other people expected from me. I think over the last year, it's been something that I've had to like prioritize in my life. I've had to be like, you have to be courageous. You have to be able to do this. And like when I ran like elections, I was nervous. I was like, oh, should I do it? But I had people who came to me all throughout the last year, also non-Jews, who were saying that I need to run again. I have to like try to give it another shot. Because I had heard that from many people, I decided to try to find the courage within myself to do that. I knew that this time I was going to be targeted significantly. I think there was an understanding that like I had become kind of the face, especially because after October 7th, I was the first student that kind of started speaking up about what was going on campus. I had to be ready to face a lot of like animosity and hatred, and I did. But I am happy that I found the courage to do that because now I'm in a position where I can help the vast majority of people. I think courage is something that I have to choose to be. It doesn't necessarily come to me naturally. Like to be able to stand up for what you believe in, especially when you know that people are going to push back on you. But I'm really happy I took those like leaps of courage.